Eruvin 53a. And bridges and monuments over graves in which there is a residence. One extends the measure of that side of the city as though there were other structures opposite them in the adjacent corner of the city. And prior to measuring the Shabbat limit, one renders the city like a square tablet so that it gains the corners, although there are actually no houses in those corners. Gemara. The Gemara cites a dispute with regard to the Mishnah's terminology. Rav and Shmuel disagreed. One taught that the term in the Mishnah is me abarin, with the letter ayin, and one taught that the term in the Mishnah is me abarin, with the letter aleph. The Gemara explains, the one who taught me abarin with the aleph explained the term in the sense of limb, ever, by limb. Determination of the city's borders involves the addition of limbs to the core section of the city, and the one who taught me abarin with an ayin explained the term in the sense of a pregnant woman, ubera, whose belly protrudes. In similar fashion, all the city's protrusions are incorporated in its Shabbat limit. Apropos this dispute, the Gemara cites similar disputes between Rav and Shmuel with regard to the Machpelah cave, in which the patriarchs and matriarchs are buried. Rav and Shmuel disagreed. One said the cave consists of 2 rooms, one farther in than the other, and one said it consists of a room and a second story above it. The Gemara asks, granted, this is understandable according to the one who said the cave consists of 1 room above the other, as that is the meaning of Machpelah, double. However, according to the one who said it consists of 2 rooms, one farther in than the other, in what sense is it Machpelah? Even ordinary houses contain 2 rooms. Rather, it is called Machpelah in the sense that it is doubled with the patriarchs and matriarchs, who are buried there in pairs. This is similar to the homiletic interpretation of the alternative name for Hebron mentioned in the Torah. Mamre of Kiryat ha-Arba, which is Hebron, Genesis 35:27. Rabbi Yitzhak said, the city is called Kiryat ha-Arba, the city of 4, because it is the city of the 4 couples buried there, Adam and Eve, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, and Jacob and Leah. They disagreed about this verse as well. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, Genesis 14:1. Rav and Shmuel both identified Amraphel with Nimrod. However, one said, Nimrod was his name, and why was his name called Amraphel? It is a contraction of 2 Hebrew words. As he said, Amar, the command, and cast Hipil, our father Abraham, into the fiery furnace, when Abraham rebelled against and challenged his proclaimed divinity. And one said, Amraphel was his name. And why was his name called Nimrod? Because he caused the entire world to rebel, Himrid, against God during his reign. They also disagreed about this verse. There arose a new king over Egypt who knew not Joseph. Exodus 1:8. And Rav Shmuel disagreed. One said he was actually a new king, and one said he was in fact the old king, but his decrees were new. The Gemara explains, the one who said he was actually a new king based his opinion on the fact that it is written in the verse that he was new. And the one who said that his decrees were new derived his opinion from the fact that it is not written. And the king died, and his successor reigned. And it is written, for example, with regard to the kings of Edom. Genesis 36. The Gemara asks, and according to the one who said that his decrees were new, isn't it written, who knew not Joseph? If it were the same king, how could he not know Joseph? The Gemara explains, what is the meaning of the phrase, who knew not Joseph? It means that he conducted himself like one who did not know Joseph at all. The Gemara cites a mnemonic of keywords from a series of traditions cited below. 18 and 12 we studied with regard to David, and he will understand. Rabbi Yohanan said, I spent 18 days with Rabbi Oshaya, the distinguished Beribi, and I learned from him only one matter in our Mishnah. In the phrase, how does one extend cities? The word me aberin is spelled with an aleph. The Gemara asks, is this so? Didn't Rabbi Yohanan say, Rabbi Oshaya, the distinguished, had 12 students, and I spent 18 days among them, and I learned the heart of each and every one, i.e., the nature and character of each student, and the extent of the wisdom of each and every one. How could Rabbi Yohanan say that he learned only one matter? The Gemara answers, it is possible that he learned the heart of each and every one and the wisdom of each and every one, but he did not learn substantive tradition. And if you wish, say instead, from the students themselves, he learned many things. From Rabbi Oshaya himself, he did not learn anything beyond that one matter. And if you wish, say instead, Rabbi Yohanan meant to say that he learned only one matter in our Mishnah from Rabbi Oshaya, but he learned other matters from him based on Bereitot and other sources. And Rabbi Yohanan said about that period, when we were studying Torah with Rabbi Oshaya, it was so crowded with students that we would sit 4 in each square cubit. Similarly, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said, when we were studying Torah with Rabbi Eliezer ben Shammua, we would sit 6 in each square cubit. Rabbi Yohanan said about his teacher, Rabbi Oshaya the distinguished was as great in his generation as Rabbi Meir was in his generation. Just as with regard to Rabbi Meir, in his generation, his colleagues were unable to fully grasp the profundity of his thinking due to the subtlety of his great mind. So it was with Rabbi Oshaya. His colleagues were unable to fully grasp the profundity of his thinking. Similarly, Rabbi Yohanan said, the hearts, i.e., the wisdom of the early sages, were like the doorway to the entrance hall of the temple, which was 20 by 40 cubits, and the hearts of the later sages were like the doorway to the sanctuary, which was 10 by 20 cubits. And we, i.e., our hearts, are like the eye of a fine needle. He explains, the term early sages is referring to Rabbi Akiva, and the term later sages is referring to his student, Rabbi Eliezer ben Shammua. Some say that the term early sages refers to Rabbi Eliezer ben Shammua, and that the term the later sages refers to Rabbi Oshaya, the distinguished, and we are like the eye of a fine needle. On the topic of the steady decline of the generations, Abbé said, "And we, as far as our capabilities are concerned, are like a peg in the wall with regard to Torah study. Just as a peg enters a wall with difficulty, our studies penetrate our minds only with difficulty." Rava said, "And we are like a finger in wax." Kira, with regard to logical reasoning, a finger is not easily pushed into wax, and it extracts nothing from the wax. Rav Ashi said, "We are like a finger in a pit with regard to forgetfulness, just as a finger easily enters a large pit. Similarly, we quickly forget our studies." The Gemara continues the discussion relating to study and comprehension, and cites that which Rav Yehuda said that Rav said, with regard to the people of Judea, who were particular in their speech and always made certain that it was both precise and refined. Their Torah knowledge endured for them with regard to the people of the Galilee, who were not particular in their speech. Their Torah knowledge did not endure for them. The Gemara asks, is this matter at all dependent on being particular with one's language? Rather, with regard to the people of Judea, who were precise in their language and who would formulate mnemonics for their studies, their Torah knowledge endured for them. With regard to the people of the Galilee, who were not precise in their language and who would not formulate mnemonics, their Torah knowledge did not endure for them. Furthermore, with regard to the people of Judea, who studied from one teacher, their Torah knowledge endured for them, as their teacher provided them with a consistent approach. However, with regard to the people of the Galilee, who did not study from one teacher, but rather from several teachers, their Torah knowledge did not endure for them, as it was a combination of the approaches and opinions of a variety of sages. Ravina said, with regard to the people of Judea, who would publicly disclose the tractate to be studied in the coming term so that everyone could prepare and study it in advance, Gi Onim, their Torah knowledge endured for them, with regard to the people of the Galilee, who would not disclose the tractate to be studied in the coming term. Their Torah knowledge did not endure for them. The Gemara relates that King David would disclose the tractate to be studied in advance, whereas Saul would not disclose the tractate to be studied. With regard to David, who would disclose the tractate, it is written, "Those who fear you will see me and be glad." Psalms 119:74. Since all were prepared and could enjoy his Torah. With regard to Saul, who would not disclose the tractate to be studied, it is written, "And wherever he turned himself,